All right. So I'm actually going to do an intro for this because if this is an awesome game, this would be a nice little test for my analytics to see how crazy my viewers are. So basically, I need to step away for a moment to get a drink. But the game started. We've got Sebastian in the blue, up-and-comer, 20-year-old from Uruguay. Did just play Yo and lost to Yo when Yo was playing as the Lithuanians. Now he randoms into Lithuanians, and Yo has the Burgundians. Okay? So what you're going to get to experience is the Dark Age from Yo's scout's perspective until I return. Again, if this game is legendary, I think we'll at least keep this in there, but apologies to anyone who wants me talking the whole way through, because my throat's getting a little hoarse and I've been casting for 3 hours, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've returned. Sorry if I scared you and ruined the peaceful serenity that is watching Yo's scout. So when I think Burgundians, the Burgundians are a civilization that thrives if they can play defensive, because they can research their eco upgrades and age earlier, and they have a bit of a discount there. Investing into that still can leave you a little behind to any type of rush attempt. So that's what we'll be thinking about here. I'm going to also open my drink now. And that'll be a fun test because if like this ends up hitting YouTube, I'm curious to see what YouTube says on how many people skipped ahead until I came back talking. Now, the most offensive thing, the worst thing for me is if like more people watched during that and then they skipped right when I get back. So if you're ever watching this on YouTube, don't you dare skip ahead, okay? Because I see that there's a little graph that shows me the data and it'll make me really sad. Anyways, I know some of you trolls are going to do it because I said don't do it. That's just how you work. There we go. Okay. Yo is on a +7 streak at the moment. And most of these games, he's been very late with scouting his opponent. And in one of those games, he lost 2 villagers to a drush and still won. So let's see. Here he is. And it's just like he knows. He knows. Well, what he doesn't know is that there's a drush, but he knows that he hasn't scouted it. And he knows it's very possible with his enemy Civ. Because he played with Lithuanians earlier and did this build order. He also, like, look how tempting that must be to attack it. But Sebastian knows that if he tries to attack the partially built palisade, that Yo would just finish it anyways. So he tries to hide the fact that he has this here. This is Yo's point of view. You've got to be. Life isn't fair, dude. The timing on this. Okay, he did lose his scout to the TC. Okay, life is fair again. Now suddenly I feel like I'm human. Or he's human, but there's constant reminders of how human I am. And Yo looks up to the next stage. T90 blind, don't know about Yo losing a boar. Wait, did he lose a boar to the TC? That would make sense, actually, because he pushed in all of his deer, and he's out of sheep. Huh, well, I wasn't here to talk about that. Yeah, so he's down a boar, and this pressure coming in from Sebastian's pretty hot and heavy. Sebastian's also on the way up to Feudal Age behind this. Probably only possible because the Lithuanians just have so much food at the start. It's almost like these things are already paid for. Now, Yo will want to potentially rush a Castle Age wood upgrade in. But this just looks like an archer build from him. Again, the fact that he does this is so impressive to me. So, here's a little quiz for any of the viewers out there. What other top player, and there's probably multiple, but there's one that comes to mind for me. What player frequently partially builds the palisades and doesn't completely build them? To like ridiculous levels. Is there one that comes to mind for you? You guys are probably not going to say the player I'm thinking of, but the player I'm thinking of, I believe, does it way more than anyone else. And I'm not, to be clear on this, I'm not talking about, like, taking them to 50%. I'm talking about taking it to, like, 10%. So it's so tempting for the person to attack it. That's not Viper, though obviously I'm sure, again, there's probably instances where he may do this. And this is indeed an archer opening for Yo. Probably a really stupid trivia question because a lot of players do it, so I'll just say who I'm thinking of. Because I'm sure if anyone else is going to guess, they'd be saying it by now. Ooh, someone said Miguel. I'll just say close. Miguel does not do it to the level that his buddy might do it. But yeah, okay, the answer is Dogao. Dogao does that. And I try it myself, but then I just, like, it's extra clicks for me to have to go back to complete the wall. I just can't. And whatever savings you might get from, like, not fully building it and then deleting it later is just not worth it for me. Yeah, so I haven't cast Dogao play in a while on RM. But he tends to do that quite frequently, so. All right, so we have Skirmisher follow-up here from Sebastian. This could kill Yo. Excuse me, this could kill Yo. This is an amazing build order from Sebastian, who's getting his revenge on Yo. And Yo's Archer build's done absolutely nothing here. And this is the problem with Burgundians on an open map. Especially when you shoot your boar with your TC. It's just, you're just, unfortunately, in such a rough position if you want to invest into those eco upgrades. Sebastian did lose his scout there, which he probably won't be very happy with. But he does force a tower from Yo for now, and things are looking pretty good for him. How is saying a wrong name considered close? Well, because it's Brazilian. Woo, woo, woo! Aw, come on. Can we get a replay on that? Are you kidding me? All right. Who do you think wins? A 13 HP archer who has just been attacked with giant javelins from the skirmishers, or the full HP chonky bear who, while he is chonky, looks like he hasn't eaten a meal in a while because he's very hungry, or at least angry. Let's see. Bear v Archer. Archer no upgrades. Bear's just taking shots to the face. And the Archer didn't even flinch. Like, he didn't even look like he got injured. He just stood there and took it. And there he goes on 1 HP. Now, he actually... Hold on, rewind. High-level content. He actually would have died if he wasn't standing on the hill. So that... I know that Age of Empires is a very realistic game. So remember, guys, if you're ever going out, you know, shooting your bow in the woods, and a bear comes to attack you, just face it. Don't play dead. Stand on the hill and just stare him down, and you'll get him. All right? That's my tip for you. I hope you save somebody's life someday. All right. Or save your own life someday. Or maybe I just hope you don't get attacked by a bear. That would be nice, I guess. Yo is going to go for scouts now. And Sebastian is thinking about walling up. So I think that he is deciding here to kind of fall off on his attack. He hasn't actually killed any villagers. But he has harassed Yo and has set Yo back a bit more than Yo would want. He did just see the stable there, though, so he's going to add a couple spearmen, and they should get there in no time because he is Lithuanians. And even if Yo clears this, I don't think there's a world where Yo can realistically get a good counter in. But I am curious to see how good his eco looks now, because he will be relatively untouched. And he has his Castle Age Wood in farm upgrade in. Does he have enough to push this back? We'll see. Feels like those skirms could so easily just run away from the scouts and take the archer. And the spearman can chase down the scouts. Bet I've had a bear pestering me the last week. Now I know how to handle this. Okay. So I actually had a lot of bear run-ins as a kid. Like, not that I actually fought them with a bow and arrow, but there were a lot of bears growing up. Did I ever tell you guys about the time that I tracked down a bear? Kind of, sort of. Did I ever tell you that? I don't know if I told you guys this. All right, so I don't know if this story's ever been documented. I'm going to tell the story now. We started this game with me being gone for 2 minutes, so we might as well just ruin the commentary even further and just tell a story about a bear. So my apologies, but the story's got to be told. So, when I was growing up, my parents had quite a few bird feeders. So they just put, like, bird seed in it. The birds would show up. The birds would eat it. The birds would be happy. And my mom would be like, ooh, look at the pretty birds. That's pretty much it. And so there were a lot of bird feeders, and we lived kind of in the middle of nowhere, so, you know, out in nature and whatnot. And then they started to get torn down. We would wake up, and we would see the bird feeders on the ground, and the bird feeders gone, and long story short, they were bears, all right? Bears got very bold. They came in from the mountain, and they would come into our yard, and there were instances where, like, trash would occasionally be taken, but overall, it was just bird feeders had to be taken down. So it went from, like, over the course of, like, when I was 8, so maybe I was about 12 or 13, it went from, oh, we love our birds, and we don't see any bears, to, wow, did you hear about the bear in the neighborhood last night, right? So when I was 13, we had a situation where our neighbor, who still had, like, a lot of feeders and whatnot, had a storage bin. It was actually just a big metal trash pail or trash bin filled with bird seed, but they didn't have their, like, I don't know if they had their feeders out. That doesn't really matter. What matters is we're talking like a big old trash bin full of bird seed, and they had cameras, and they showed evidence of this bear coming up on their porch, knocking this thing over, and eating a ton of it, and then just leaving. They also, like, walked through their little garden, and I remember my neighbor lady was very upset because she likes her garden. So, you know, the bear ate his meal and left, and what our town would do at that time is, like, report it to, like, the local authorities or whatever, so people knew and passed the word along, like, hey, like, maybe don't take a nap in this bird seed because they, you know, the bear might mistakenly eat you. Anyways, so I get home from school at, like, what time did I get home from school? I want to say 3:30, and I had just heard that there was a bear. I walk over there, saw, like, some of the bear tracks. I walk back inside, and I go, hey, Mom, I'm going to go find the bear. Now, I don't know how many of you are parents, and I am not a parent, but I know enough from talking to my own parents what that meant to my mom, and my mom was probably like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with him for another couple hours. This is perfect. I can relax. I can make my dinner, or make, you know, the family's dinner, and I don't have to listen to my obnoxious son run all around the house and be annoying, basically, right? She's like, he's going to go off on a hike or whatever and come back. He's not going to find the bear, right? So I was off to find the bear. My mom said, yeah, sure, whatever. So I go out, and so where the neighbors lived, there was a, like, up from their house was a hill, and it went into a bunch of farmland. And we're talking like hundreds and hundreds of acres of farmland. And then the other side was the mountain. And I was like, I'm not going to go the mountainside. I'm going to go up to their backyard, into the field, see what I find. And so basically all I did was I walked along the field where the field bordered the trees. And I just walked for like 2 or 3 miles. And occasionally, as you're walking along, there would be gaming, what's called like a game trail. So basically an opening through like the trees where it's clear that like deer or animals of sorts use it frequently. You could call it like an animal highway. And so I'd find an animal road or animal highway, whatever. By the way, this is a very good game. We got Latus for Sebastian. He's getting relics, which is great for him. Yo is just booming. Like, Yo is very much behind here, so I hope you're enjoying what little you're seeing. But yeah, so I like find an opening and I just walk in. Let's go find the bear. And I walk in and I get to like a creek or something, and I'd see like deer tracks near the creek, and I'd say, okay, well, doesn't really seem like, well, nice pick off there from Yo. Doesn't really seem like there's anything here. It's fine. And then I found a very brushy, viney area. So like you had like these bushes and trees, but they'd all overgrown together. So it was really thick. And then there was like a dark opening. And I say dark opening because it was like maybe 5:30. And at that time of year, it would get dark around like, let's say 6:30. And I'm a couple miles away from home yet. And I see it. And so like, you know, out in the field, you've got sunlight, but the sun's kind of going down. You look through the tunnel, just darkness, because it was that thick this shrubbery was. By the way, Yo has been super annoying here. Like, he's got this scout trying to protect this relic, And then he's got this monk going over to take this relic. He desperately wants these relics. And, oh! Wow, Sebastian deletes 2 units. Okay. And yes, still Sebastian's in a good spot. Okay. So naturally, it's getting dark. What do? I walk into the tunnel of death. I wish I would have had like a phone back then to take a picture of it. So anyways, I walk in. And initially it was like kind of tall. But then it started to become more of like a crouch situation. Just like a slight crouch. Lowering my head, walking in. And then it opens up. And the way I could describe this is like, I don't know how many of you have ever seen or been in an igloo, but you know how it has that little tunnel, and then you get in and the igloo opens up. Think shrub igloo, except the tunnel to walk in is like maybe like 10 or 15 yards. Crouch. I get in, and then it opens up into the darkness, and I smell crap. And I look in front of me, and I'm not exaggerating. I know us casters, we exaggerate. Like, oh my god, the latents are going to kill everything. I'm not exaggerating. There are at least 8 piles of bear crap in there. And they all had bird seed in it. And some of it was fresh because it reeked. So I had just wandered into the bear's den. And I ran, man. And I ran. This 2 HP scout, you gotta love it, is gonna kill this monk here. And so then I got home. And, I obviously made it out alive. Made it out unscathed. And I said to my mom, hey, I found where the bear was. Obviously, it was more like, Mom, I found where the bear was. And she was like, yeah, you gotta be kidding me. And I told her the story. And she was like, wow. And she didn't believe I would, find anything. And then she said, obviously don't go back there. Okay, back to the game here for just a second. Sebastian's going to be really disappointed in himself if he does not win this one. He's been able to break in and harass Yo like crazy. He's going to walk forward now and drop a castle and probably be in the Imperial Age as well. He has 4 relics, so his latest have tons of attack. I mean, he is in the driver's seat here to beat a big player in Yo. Also, Meow Meow, turn off low latency if you're having any potential, lag issues. I haven't heard anyone else say anything. And God, that microphone Sebastian was good too. So, I wasn't really informed on this back then, but my mom, so I have not, as nature-y, I guess, as, some of my cousins. And my uncles are, I'm getting more into it these days, but they're, super outdoorsy, hunting, fishing, tracking, all that stuff. And so my mom, I think, thinking, she could tell her brother how awesome her son is at tracking bears, because, my cousin's, really, into nature and all that crap. She tells my uncle, hey, this is what Tristan did. Isn't this really cool? And my uncle apparently chewed her out for, 10 minutes. It was this is, prime cub season. And I assume most of you know this, but, bears are the most violent during cub season because mothers will take anything as a threat if they have their cubs nearby. So that is the worst possible time to go wandering out into the wilderness looking for bears. I had no clue. My mom had no clue. And yeah, that's the story. That's pretty much it. So that's the time that I looked for a bear and found it. And I guess supposedly back to the game. We're going to have trebuchets here for Sebastian, and I do not know how Yo stops this. Sebastian has played like an absolute beast this game. Okay, we're not having as many people chat now, and they could have been listening to my amazing story about bears. But are other people having video lag? Because one person said, do you guys have the same video lag? Also, hello, bring me biscuits. Nobody else said anything. So I'm going to assume that that has been resolved. Okay. Latus with 13 plus 4 attack with no attack upgrades, FYI, are going after the market. And Yo has to wall around it. And there's a hole. Oh, there's not a hole. No, there will be. There won't be. Okay. Great job, though. He opened up with Treps. He needs to go for Yo's castles right away. Yo's going to try and go into Halberdier here to counter these things, but he's going to need a lot of halbs. Had it a few times, but it's good. Good, good, good. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So fine for the most part is what I'm hearing. Perfect. I do have a bear trap story, but I was a bit younger. I was like 10, and there was a bear at our cabin like weeks prior, and so I thought it would be cool to make a bear trap, which was literally just a big metal pole with a bunch of sticks around it, and then we put Cheez-Its on the sticks, hoping the bear would step on it and break the sticks, and then the metal pole would fall and hit the bear. That was my plan. But there was no actual bear sighting involved in that, though someone ate the Cheez-Its, so. Probably just a few little squirrels. And yeah, that's the game. Yo loses this game. Possibly due to the fact that he shot his boar with his TC. But Sebastian has played insanely well, and both Yo and Sebastian have just been increasing the win rate stats for Lithuanians today. Because Yo had Lithuanians twice and won. Sebastian now has Lithuanians and got the win as well. Also could have had the 5th relic too. That was probably a good game for me to tell stories because it honestly wasn't close, and I just would have been sitting here thinking about how Yo had no chance. But yeah, I mean, Sebastian, again, 20 years old, up-and-coming player, takes Yo off of a 7-game winning streak. It's pretty insane.